everyone, it's Georgie here from Her Hair, My Head. I've come on today to talk about me. This is in response to a comment that I had on one of my YouTube videos from a lady who basically wanted to know a bit more about my own hair loss journey. So I thought I would just share what happened when it started and now, sort of 5 years later, where I am and why I wear alternative hair pretty much every day. I've always had quite fine hair, and I had a very brief stint as a 14-year-old where I pulled out my hair. It only happened for a few months and I went to see my GP and I was hypnotised, which was a very odd and strange experience, but it worked and it stopped me pulling out my hair. Now, because I only pulled out my hair for a very short time, I expected it to grow back, and it did to some extent, but it never was as thick as it was before. So for years and years and years, I thought that I had caused myself to have thin hair, and I thought it was all my fault. And now looking back, and knowing what I know now, I know that I have a genetic condition called androgenetic alopecia, which means that my hair was always going to get thinner. I just made it worse and started it off early by pulling out my hair. So I had quite fine sparse hair as a teenager, and it slowly thinned over my late teens and into my 20s. But it was when I had my daughter, when I was 30, that I really noticed a change. So it was thin, but I could live with it. I didn't love my hair, but I didn't have sort of bald patches or really, really sparse patches. And then when I got pregnant with my first daughter, my hair was a bit thicker and it looked a bit, nicer and better quality. And then after I had my daughter, and I experienced that postpartum shed where everyone tends to lose some hair. My hair really thinned out and then it didn't recover. So in normal hair, after you've had that postpartum shed, at some point your hair would then go back to normal, but mine didn't, so it got thinner. And then I was asked to be a bridesmaid for my best friend, and I felt very, very self-conscious about my hair. I was using brown hairsprays to try and cover the thin patches, but I didn't like how my hair looked in photos, and the thought of being a bridesmaid and having everyone look at me and take my photo was really stressful. So I decided to look into other options, which is how I came across toppers. And I should add, after I had that shedding, after having my first daughter, I went to see my GP, and that was when they diagnosed me with the androgenetic alopecia, which is a hereditary condition. And actually my granny had something similar. I always knew that she wore wigs as an older lady, and once I'd had my diagnosis and I spoke to my mum about it, I found out that she had been wearing wigs since she was in her 40s. And actually her pattern of hair loss was very similar to mine. And so I started wearing toppers after I had my first daughter. And since then, I've pretty much been wearing them solidly ever since. I sometimes wear wigs, but I find toppers more comfortable. And I then had another baby in 2020, and my hair loss again it didn't get any thicker while I was pregnant this time, but after I lost more, and it didn't really recover, so it's got even more sparse. And over the past sort of 4 to 5 years, the size of topper base that I wear has got slowly bigger and bigger. So I started on about a 5.5 inch base, and now I wear 8 by 8s or 9 by 9s. So my hair loss has really become more extensive over the last I guess really 7 years. So what I'll do is this is my topper. I'll take this off and show you. It started for me at my parting and at this front part here. So initially my parting thinned, but it's all, for me, it's always been worse here. So when I was a teenager and into my 20s, it was sort of thin-ish here, but you would look at me and think she's got thin hair. You wouldn't look and think she has got no hair. So I could live with it. And then it's basically slowly just gone from here. And this thin part has just gone further and further. It's just crept lower. It's not too bad down here, but it's sort of just spread. And at the back, it's definitely got lower at the back. I'll turn around so hopefully you can see. It's become more so across my crown. I'd say, in fact, stay this way. From about here down, this is the sort of thickness it's always been. So it's never been really thick, but I would say at the bottom here, this is normal for me, for it to look like this. So the actual, each individual hair is quite fine. I haven't done anything to my hair. This is how it dries naturally. It's quite straight and it's quite thin and fine, but there's just not enough of it at the top. So I have to wear toppers that sit, I either have to have a lace front or, for example, with this one, which is a silk top, this sits right on my hairline because I've got nothing here to blend with a topper. I still feel that I have enough hair here that I can get away with wearing toppers. And I find, so this is an 8x8 base. This is a Luster hair topper that I got secondhand and I dyed, a silk top. And I find that an 8x8 base is a good amount of coverage for me. It makes sure that all of my thin parts are covered and the clips clip into what is my healthy hair. So essentially the clips don't clip into these really, really thin parts. So I wouldn't necessarily wear a smaller base because it would be clipping here, and this is where the hair is fragile. You'll also notice I have got a bit of traction alopecia here, where I obviously have been clipping the toppers in. A lot of people are scared of traction alopecia because you obviously don't want to be doing something that causes your hair to get any thinner. But for me, I know that I will be wearing toppers. You know, my hair's not going to grow back. I'll be wearing toppers until I don't have enough hair to clip into anymore, and then I'll move on to wigs. So a little bit of traction alopecia for me is a necessary evil because it means that I get to wear toppers and feel good about myself. I sometimes wear wigs, but I find anything that puts pressure on my head here, so like hairbands and certain types of sunglasses, give me really bad headaches. So obviously the nature of a wig, it puts pressure around there and makes me feel a bit sick. I do sometimes wear wigs, and I do find that hand-tied wigs are more comfortable, but I'm definitely a topper girl. I find them just much more comfortable for me. And yeah, all the time I've got enough hair to blend with a topper and to clip a topper into. That's what I'll be wearing. And I think probably if I reached a point where my hair loss was bad enough that I had to wear a wig, I would probably cut my hair a lot shorter or possibly buzz it. But for now, I'm a topper girl. I hope that's been useful, and if you've got any questions, let me know.